Let's start things off with focused hours. So, why do we care about focused hours? Well, basically, the main reason is that, as I talked about when I was doing the little diagram, pretty much everything you want is on the other side of being able to sit down and focus on one thing for an extended period of time. We care about focused hours because our best work happens in flow rather than in chaos mode. There are very few of us that manage to get a lot of work done by just juggling all of these different things. That's when, you might have that feeling, I have it a lot as well, where you get to the end of the workday and you feel like you've done a lot of stuff and you've ticked a lot of things off, but you feel like you haven't really made any progress. It's kind of annoying when that happens. That's why one of the reasons we care about focused hours, because focused hours is how we make meaningful progress towards our goals. Just as a little bit of a tangent, one analogy that I quite like is that admin and random tasks, in our little metaphor of we're on this boat going through the waters of life. The random tasks that come on our boat is like water that lands onto our boat, and we have to take our little bucket and sort of get rid of the water from the boat, because if we don't, we're going to drown in overwhelm with all of the random tasks and stuff that are in our boat. But often those little annoying admin tasks, those tend not to move us forward. We tend to be moved forward, whatever forward means to most people. If you're like most people, forward motion tends to come from sitting down and focusing on one thing that is important for an extended period of time. That's how we move forward. But getting rid of the admin tasks and sort of paying the taxes and keeping on top of doctor's appointments and making sure you've sent the birthday card to so-and-so and remembering whatever random things that are on your to-do list, that tends to be the stuff that will overwhelm and drown us unless we do something about it. So I think of those as admin time rather than focus time, but that's a big part of why we care a lot about focused hours, because focused hours are how we make progress. Multitasking is a myth and your brain knows it. Whenever we're trying to do dozens of different things at once, we suck at all of it, and generally most progress, like we said, is made by just sticking to one thing and focusing on it for an extended period of time. One focused hour can honestly beat 8 scattered ones. I had so many scattered hours when I was working on my book, and I had comparatively few actually genuinely focused hours because there was all sorts of distractions and all sorts of emotional issues that I was having around imposter syndrome and stuff, around being a writer, etc., etc. But over time, I practiced the muscle of being able to focus on the writing stuff, and then I was making more progress in 1 or 2 focused hours than I would have in days worth of just trying to do the book alongside lots of other things. For most of us, genius happens in deep work, not on the shallow end. If any of you have read Cal Newport's wonderful book, Deep Work, I think that's the first time anyone coined the term deep work versus shallow work. Again, deep work tends to move us forward, shallow work tends not to. And finally, we care about focused hours because your time deserves better than being a slave to distractions. We want to be focusing on stuff that's meaningful to us, not even just on our work. We also want to be able to focus on being present with our kids. We also want to be able to focus on being there with our friends and family when we're going on a hike, rather than being distracted by all the thoughts that are in our head, all of the emotions that are in our bodies, and all of the notifications that are coming in from our phones. So we care a lot about focused hours. There are 5 key components of focused hours. There is plan, and these relate to the 5 questions that we've all just answered. Firstly, plan. I always prepare my environment and set a clear intention before starting focused work. Secondly, focus. I'm able to focus for 50 minutes without getting distracted. Thirdly, reflect. After each focus session, I reflect on my accomplishments and identify ways to improve. Fourth, log. I regularly log the amount of time I've spent on focused work during the workday. And like I said, this is arguably the single most important point. And then 5, capture. I have a system to capture any thoughts or tasks that come up during my focus session to avoid distraction. So these are the 5, components of the focused hour module of our life operating system. And over time, I hope that if you incorporate some of these different tools that we're going to talk about in today's session, then your score on those 5 questions will rise. And like I said, if there's one thing you focus on, it should be point number 4, because regularly logging the amount of time you spend on focused work will completely change your life. And don't worry, we're going to go through all of these one at a time.